Welcome to Pharmacy View, Technology and Pharmacy Business podcast series, where we provide regular interviews with pharmacists and key industry people within the Australian pharmacy and associated industry. In each podcast, we look to discuss aspects of pharmacy operation and how technology is improving or interacting with each guest's current role or pharmacy-related business. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter, and today's guest is sponsored by Shopfront Solutions, leading the way in digital marketing and communications, providing a cloud-based platform for pharmacies to manage all of their digital messaging and print-based collateral. For more information on the Shopfront Solutions digital platform, simply go to the website at shopfrontsolutions.com.au. I'm talking today with Frank Triulcio and Elizabeth Bryant from Crosier Scott Architects, who have been working in the Australian pharmacy and medical industry for over 25 years and completed over 500 healthcare business redesign and refit projects. Welcome, Liz and Frank.
Hi, Scott. Well, pleasure to be here.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you both here today. So, by way of introduction, let's discuss who Crosier Scott Architects and Crosier Scott Complete are. I've seen from my research that you've worked across a few pharmacy brands, so by all means, let's tell the people who you've been working with. And I think also, let's talk about the states that you've either done work in or at least not done work in.
Okay, well, Scott, we've been as a business, an architectural business for probably 60 odd years, believe it or not. I've been with the company for 25 years and I'm one of three directors. And we've got a very broad cross section of work that we cover across a national basis. We do work in residential, educational, aged care, seniors living, hospitality, and of course, pharmacy and medical and retail for that matter. We've been some of our major clients, Sigma Healthcare. We've completed numerous MCLs and Guardians and Pharmasaves all over the country. Commonwealth Bank of Australia, we've had as a client for 50 odd years. We've been doing a lot of hospitality work recently with McDonald's. Another one of our major clients is Ego Pharmaceuticals. We've been doing some really high-end, high-tech facilities for their main head office. We actually designed their corporate head office, global head office facilities in Bayswater. So I guess we pride ourselves as being a little bit different to other architectural companies where we're very client-centered. We've got some great relationships, not just with corporate clients, but independent clients and private clients. And we really, I guess that's what keeps me going. I just enjoy the interaction with clients that we have. Some of them have become friends. And over the period of time, we just developed these long-term relationships where clients come back to us, for repeat business. So, look, from the services that we offer, I guess in particular to our pharmacy and medical clients, we do have a point of difference, I guess, in terms of, whether you go to a shop fitter and get a pharmacy designed with and get a price from a shop fitter. Our differences are really that we do detailed staff analysis of workflows and customer flows in the shop for all aspects of the pharmacy. We ensure obviously the designs meet all the regulatory requirements. We deal with centre management, in shopping centre projects to get approvals through them. We prepare very detailed drawings and specifications, and our clients often comment on how many questions we ask about their business to prepare our drawings. And the idea is that we prepare a set of drawings that are very detailed for two reasons. One is that our clients get what they want. And two, that we minimise cost variations during fit-outs, which is a big bugbear for a lot of our clients. That the drawings just aren't detailed enough, and builders tend to leave things out. I'm not saying they do it on purpose, but it just happens that way because the drawings aren't detailed enough, and then they end up with a big variation in the project. We also arrange independent tenders with shop fitters, so we scrutinise tenders and make sure that when we present a report back to our clients that they're comparable. So, they can make an informed decision about who they'd like to go with. Not always money-based. Sometimes it might be a previous relationship with a shop fitter they feel comfortable with. But, at least they're comparing apples with apples and they can make an informed decision. During the construction phase of a fit-out, we would look at the quality side of things, by doing regular inspections. We can control the monetary side of things, i.e., when the project is complete and the client's happy and we're happy with the quality and the results. Generally, that's when shop fitters get paid. And we also resolve issues during construction. So, look, the bottom line is that our clients are too busy or don't have the expertise to do a project from start to completion. and we're there to just basically run it all for them. And look, obviously clients some may not want to go the full extent of our services, but we offer that to them, and most times they do take it on board. We have a lot of, as I said before, long-standing relationships. We've got some good referrals. We've won a few awards. Some of our other types of projects that we do, being public buildings, the schools in particular. We just recently won a national award for one of our schools. And look, we also see ourselves as the forefront for automation and implementing automation systems and products into our pharmacy designs. To the benefit, we don't implement things just for the sake of it because it's there, but we implement automation where it's needed and where we think it's a benefit to clients.
Yeah.
And design it accordingly.
Yeah, so Frank, on that, I noticed one of the points on your brochure was the feasibility study, and again, there'll be quite a few pharmacists listening today that have already been through a shop design and refit and know how much fun it can and cannot be.
Yep.
But I guess on the same boat for anyone that hasn't, it's probably a bit like designing and building a house or doing a house renovation. Is that you can have this kind of great vision in mind, but the reality is it's always better to do the background work before you start taking off the first piece of carpet or the first roof tile, because if you're not sure what's involved on the way through, that's when it can get pretty expensive, isn't it?
It is, and we spend a lot of time and effort, and Liz will testify this. I mean, she has the in dealings day to day with some of our clients, and we spend a lot of time and effort in getting a package of drawings that whatever we can see and that we know is there. We do a lot of investigation, like we climb inside roofs and ceiling spaces to make sure that there's no surprises when it comes to a fit out, or minimise anyway surprises. And the whole idea being is to minimise costs, or variations during the fit out, because there's just nothing worse than at the end of a project with a $30,000 bill for variations. You just hadn't budgeted for. Yeah, there is. We do add value in that respect, Scott.
Yeah, and look, on that note too, I was involved in a pharmacy refit too many years ago now. It was actually in North Tasmania. I think it might have been in Launceston.
Okay.
Pharmacy refit.
Yep.
And the people doing the project management and again doing the preliminary investigation decided to kind of, exactly as you said, lift up the tiles. And what they found is one of the walls had actually been built as a World War II army bunker. So it was actually a 2-foot thick brick wall.
Oh, wow.
If they hadn't done the investigation, they then had to kind of decide, well, are they going to kind of pull this out and open up the space, or is there another way to do it?
Wow.
So I certainly can attest, and I'm sure on that basis you've come across some interesting things.
And Scott, that's where our architectural expertise comes in, because we are architects, so we're used to dealing with construction. So
yes.
In terms of we're not talking. I've just been talking fit outs, but if you needed to extend into another space or extend the building or build a brand new greenfield medical centre, which we've done before for some of our clients, brand new pharmacies.
Yeah.
We did a very large project in Whittlesea a number of years ago, which was a 2-story building, a brand new building, and we've got that capacity being architects, and
yes.
even if it is a fit out and a wall needs to go between two shops, we understand that, and obviously dealing with councils and planning and DAs and all that sort of thing as well. So, the service is all there.
And it's interesting. You may not be aware of this, but I actually live not too far from Whittlesea, so I know exactly the building that you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So on that basis, and again, this I guess podcast mantra is around the technology, and it was one of the reasons I was keen to chat with you both, because pharmacy is often at the forefront of the use of technology, and for too many years, pharmacy design's possibly been based on the requirements of the pharmacy boards or the pharmacy councils. It's also, I guess, to a point pushed from a retail perspective for the front of shop. But having said that, I've certainly seen, and I'm sure you have as well, in the last probably 5 to 10 years, the advent of major technology changes in pharmacy. And we would talk about the dispensing robots coming on board, but even more so in this last year, I'm certainly seeing the advent of technologies, online platforms where customers would now be looking at limited interaction, click and collect, online purchases. What kind of challenges has that thrown up for you guys, I guess, in the last, not only the last 9 or 10 months, but I guess in the last couple of years, because you're now effectively designing a different pharmacy today than you were, say, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, well, I think the traditional sort of scripts in dispensing, bench scripts out has certainly changed a lot because of those technologies. We're seeing a lot more integration of the big robotic machines now, which does change the footprint of the dispensary quite significantly. You're not relying on those standard ethical bays anymore. And also, the Webster areas, there's machines for those as well. So we're integrating that sort of stuff. So in terms of the layout of the dispensaries, we're focusing less on the scripts in and more on the scripts out, and for dispense type arrangements because of the e-script technologies that are coming in. We're needing to integrate the tablets somewhere, dual screens often for the scripts out areas and scripts in sometimes. But yeah, look, it is changing, and we're having to keep abreast of all of that. We're doing sort of independent little pods outside of the dispensary area to come to customers come to them, so it's independent of the dispensary area, to make sure that customers can stay apart. There's all that staying apart rules now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't put all of your waiting chairs in one spot. You have to separate them out now if you're having waiting chairs at all, because they don't want people waiting and mingling around in the retail spaces as much as they used to either. So it's a really big challenge.
Yeah, so look, I've certainly seen so a pharmacy that I know fairly well up on the north coast of New South Wales that's been using the iPad, welcome entries and script ins for some time. What are the dispense pods that you're talking about, as much as you can describe them on a podcast?
So the forward dispense sort of pods. We're not looking at big long counters anymore. So
okay.
Having one big scripts in and then a big script dispense bench and then a scripts out, even though that works really well with the traffic flows throughout the store, because you don't have that traditional paper scripts in scenario. We're sort of steering away from that and creating, and the pods have been around for quite a while. They're not a new thing, but the technology around them is changing with the iPad or tablet scenario. So it is for one pharmacist to stand and discuss with the customer what they need. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So like the counselling counters.
Yeah.
And so also more pickup, more as a pickup area.
Pickup.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because you're not because you're sort of ordering. Let's say ordering online is almost like a click and collect for your prescription. So it's more picking up than dropping off.
And there's also some technology now that there's after hours units. They're not actually approved in Australia at the moment, but they are being used overseas, where scripts can be, I guess, placed into it. It's a bit like an ATM, I guess. If you've got an outside wall, and the customer can actually collect their script after hours. So we're making allowances for technology like that in pharmacies. Yeah. So we're not only sort of designing for the here and now equipment that we need, it's also future proofing.
And look, we might chat about that in a couple of minutes. So that is in terms of what else might be coming that pharmacists should be aware of, or at least be investigating. So again, in terms of the design, has there been much change? Again, I've seen the robotic units, I think, getting smaller. I mean, there's still big units out there, but are they generally getting smaller, or are they still tend to be the bigger box type units?
There's probably more variety out there now, isn't there, Liz?
There is more variety.
Yeah.
There's different sizes for different needs.
Yeah. And then you have ones that you can make them taller to get a smaller footprint. So we're finding a lot now that we make them taller and even extending into ceiling spaces to make the footprint smaller and and maximise your retail and your pharmacy area. That's been an interesting development.
And also because of the capacity of these machines, we're finding that they're being used as, I guess, a storage place for the medicines as well. So we're moving away from the standard storeroom or storage areas in the back of the dispensary areas, because these machines are now holding that stock.
Okay, so effectively, yes, there'd be less and less a requirement to have a big storage area, if at all, and more again either having the stock on the shelf in the front of the shop, or, as you said, actually in the robotic, or I guess to the same extent the storage drawers that complement those.
Yes,
That's correct. Right. Yeah, and what we're finding, Scott, is we're also using the fronts of the robotic to, best for us twos, S3s, depending on what state you're in, and all the regulations that go with that. But we're just utilising that wall space in front for various things, and it could be digital screens as well. So we're putting digital screens on the front of the machines, on the front wall of the machines.
Because there is a bit of a theatre, it's quite theatrical looking at the machine working, and having a view into the machine doing its thing is quite exciting for a lot of customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Keeps them entertained.
And I guess to that same extent, you've no doubt been asked to do different designs on layouts, because certainly as I've been travelling around Australia in my time, I've seen, as you've described, the bigger machines with the glass fronts, with the theatre that the customers can see, what's going on, and a bit like a giant vending machine. But I have also seen the design where it's effectively a solid gyprock wall with just an outshoot. So is there a rationale for either or?
Look, it just depends how much space our clients would like to utilise. So we're finding that most of them have the solid wall. We can utilise shelving, but by the same token, sometimes we're putting big digital screens on those walls up high, and one might have some information about services that the pharmacy offers, and the other one might actually have a view into the machine, or they'll just have services the pharmacy offers, and some of them might have the cricket on or something like that.
Or the golf, or the more.
Yeah, that's it.
Or dare I say, maybe the US election results. No, let's not go
there. That'll keep people entertained for hours.
Yeah. So how, on that note then, and again, I've certainly seen a couple of different models of the Webster packing machines and the sachet packing machines. Well, how's that going for you guys? Is that something that's becoming more prevalent, or is it still just here and there?
I haven't seen it as we've done quite a few of them, but they're certainly not as prevalent as the main robotic machines. They do take up quite a bit of space still, so people are still kind of from our perspective, people are still leaning towards the traditional Webster areas, but I can see a real shift coming along pretty soon to using the machines.
So is that because of the change in technology in the machines, or there's just becoming a greater acceptance of this versus the old the hot iron system?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit like the move to forward dispense. It's sort of trickling along. Okay. So yeah, I think people will be accepting that. I mean, we're not pharmacists, so we don't sort of work in the day-to-day of the pharmacies. We're just seeing this from an implementation point of view.
So what we're finding is we've done some pharmacies where we implement, and even the robotic for that matter, if it's a small footprint pharmacy but they've got another story, we're putting
upstairs
the machine upstairs, the robotic machine, and sometimes there's the dispense machines upstairs as well, where they set up literally a separate business upstairs. And the robotic also services the dispensary upstairs as well.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how many packs they're doing a day, really. Yeah.
Which I guess to a point, would depend on whether they're servicing a major aged care facility, or, as is becoming more the case, the local community with the push to keep as many people in their homes as long as they can. I'm certainly aware, even from my dad's perspective, that he's in his own home still. He gets healthcare support, but he's also got great service from his pharmacy, and he gets his Webster packs delivered every week. And I'm sure there's thousands, if not millions, of people around Australia where that's the case. So
that's right. Yeah.
So Frank, you mentioned before you're seeing, in terms of a technology, the digital displays becoming more of a consideration when you're doing designs. Is that been the case for a while, or is it becoming more prevalent?
Look, it's been for a while. We're just seeing more of them spread around the shop now, and also on shop fronts externally. They become more accepted in shopping centre environments as well, because in the past, shopping centres generally wouldn't approve anything that's kind of a moving digital image. Yes. Whereas now they're just we're finding they're approving it in Westfields and all that sort of thing. They almost expect it now.
Yeah, in fact, they've actually usually have sections in their tenancy design guidelines that want some sort of technology to be included in the shop fronts.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the ones we've done in airports, which have very, very strict guidelines regarding shop front design, they've requested it. Which, it's a perfect environment for it, especially with everything else that's going on around the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as you said, you mentioned there that it's become part of the shopping centre design standards, and that's certainly not an unexpected change, but it's probably taken too long, but it's good to hear from that perspective. So we're talking, obviously portrait and landscape style screens, but are they the main things that you're designing in these days, or is there any other components that are coming on board, or what do you see coming in the future?
Well, there's definitely the digital signage, ticketing, and things like that are coming along,
Which you know about,
which
Scott?
you know about.
I might.
Yeah, look, we're not implementing that yet. I haven't done any of that yet, but I can see that certainly coming along fairly soon. I can see the advantages in that. So that
You
I think
mentioned
that
the ATM setup, Liz, for
and
dispensing.
yeah. The ATM type machine as well is another one that obviously needs to go through a few approvals before it can be implemented into the pharmacy designs. But I can see that would be a big game changer as well.
Coming through. So with the ATM style machine, I was certainly aware of some work done a couple of years ago for remote locations in Australia around having a pharmacist being able to communicate via an ATM screen with someone in a remote location, and there might have been the top 10 or 20 or 30 prescription requirements in this machine topped up on a regular basis. Is that the type of thing we're talking about with connectivity to a pharmacist screen discussion, or is this just more like a vending machine? I've got like a QR code, it scans the QR code, my script's in there and it dispenses out.
Yeah, I think that's more the thing. It's more of an after hours service. So
Okay.
obviously at the moment in Australia you need a pharmacist to dispense and
Yep.
have that control over the what's dispensed. So yeah, it's a big shift, and obviously, as I said before, it needs to have some big approvals come through before that can be implemented.
Yeah. So,
But,
so
yeah.
I guess another way to describe it is it actually like a futuristic version of what would be the Australia Post secure boxes at the moment?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, but
that's right.
they also have a screen, from what I've seen. They have like a visual screen on it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was wondering. Oh, well, so it'll be watch that space. Well, again,
Yeah.
And if you've got some more information on that in the new year, maybe we have another chat about that kind of going forward. So
Absolutely.
that certainly gives us an idea of where you guys are heading with that. You mentioned in some of the information that I've been reading that you're using some technology platforms that are helping you with design. And again, I admitted this on a couple of other podcasts, and I'm probably towards the latter end of my career, so I'm going to enjoy the next couple of years sitting back and watching what's going to transform industries. But you talk about things like 3D canning cameras, 3D walkthroughs, 3D design and renders. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I've certainly seen some of it, and I've no doubt that it's come a long way from what I would be aware of.
Yeah, so the design programs that we use now quite advanced. We are able to model everything in 3D and document those projects in 3D as well. So they give a really clear idea of spaces, and it really helps with the design approvals process as well. So when we've got big airports and things like that, we can make a 3D image of whatever we need to get our design over the line. And that's really helpful for the pharmacist to understand what we're proposing, as well as anybody that needs to approve from the design perspective.
So leasing and centre requirements and things like that.
Yeah. And we even do that sometimes for clients who want a prospective site. So we may just mock something up really quickly so that the landlord might be able to see that.
To acquire the site. Yeah.
To acquire the site. Yeah. Yeah, it's really helpful to do that kind of thing. We've also got something called a Matterport camera that can scan sites, so you get a 3D walkthrough of a site. So for example, if we did one recently in Perth Airport, so we've got a site over there that we couldn't obviously get to because of the restrictions of flying interstate. And so we got a scan done of that site. The file came to us and we could actually walk through the site, measure, pick up anything that we needed to. And that was fantastic. And that's the sort of technology that we'll be using moving forward, I think.
So again, I'm envisaging this as best I can. Effectively, it's a scan of an empty shop shell, which would then give you measurements, distances, heights, the whole lot.
We could actually scale off the image that it's basically produces a 3D model, Scott, of the site. And in this particular one, there were still fixtures and fittings in there from the previous tenant. which we wanted to utilise to
Yes.
save our clients some money. And so we utilised that scan or that 3D model, and we could spin it around, in every space, in every way, upside down, inside out, and look at ceilings. And we could actually scale off it, like literally to the millimetre. You could just click on the screen and say, okay, I want to know what the distance is from here to here. And it was we couldn't believe how accurate it was. It was just amazing.
So even to the point that if there was fixtures in there or counters in there that you effectively didn't need to do the visit, this is the level of technology that's now available.
Absolutely, yeah. The front of the counter, back of the counter, and look, it saved our clients money in terms of going up, interstate. So it's certainly, again, one of those things that's been a benefit. Anything, the environment we're in at the moment with COVID, we've had to adopt using technologies to do things differently, and ultimately, it's saving money. So,
yeah, I mean, we're very used to doing work all around Australia. We've done work in every state and territory in Australia and different sites across those states. So we're we're based in Melbourne, but we're very used to working remotely. But these new technologies are certainly helping what we do.
Absolutely, from that perspective. So, and look, we're coming to the end of our time today. So, just a couple of quick questions, if I can. We'll include in our show notes both of your LinkedIn profiles. So, if people want to get in contact, that'll be a great way. But also your websites and a couple of other social media links that you've given us. But I guess as a wrap up, if a pharmacist or a medical business was listening to you today, and you were to kind of give them, what's the one thing that they should probably think about or do if they're thinking about refitting? What would be a couple of the most important things to consider right now in relation to technology?
In terms of things to consider, look, I'd certainly consider looking at these new technologies and exploring robotics and the different systems available. There is a limitation to what's out there, but there's more and more coming on board. Obviously, there's some considerations with a number of scripts that you might do per day and all that sort of thing, before you even consider those sort of technologies. But the other aspect is just even technologies that assist in your retail areas around the store, i.e., your digital ticketing, i.e., this, placing pods around the store to assist in talking to customers about their needs, picking up scripts around the store, and also paying for scripts, without necessarily going into a counter or going, like just that flexibility of people being able to maneuver around the shop is becoming really, really important for people.
And also, I think even if you're not at that stage where you want to take the leap into using these technologies, we can design for future. So if you're thinking about a robotic machine, but you're not quite at that point, we can create the dispensary design to allow for that machine in a future sense, and so that it can be easily implemented at a later date when you're ready to do it.
From that perspective, look, that's great. Liz and Frank, it's been great to chat with you today. I've certainly, been brought up to speed on a couple of things that I wasn't aware of, and I hope some of our listeners have as well. If it's okay, I think you've raised some really good points today, and we might have another chat in the new year about a couple of the other new technologies coming on board. But is there anything, just I guess, as a wrap-up that people should be aware about Crosier Scott?
Look, just one more thing I forgot to mention before was one other interesting development with our business has been the introduction of Crosier Scott Complete, which has basically been an add-on with Crosier Scott in the services we provide, whereby there's additional services that are targeted towards more independent pharmacies who don't have access to various services because they're not part of a group. We're talking about things like, business and operational reviews, where we have one of our colleagues who goes in and basically looks at your business from the top down, financially, operationally, and puts forward recommendations and assists you in implementing those recommendations to find monies in the business that you may or may not know you had or were able to achieve. And we've found that that's been a real big bonus in terms of people feeling confident to go ahead with doing a pharmacy refit. So it's almost a traditional, it's like when you go apply for a bank loan almost. You work out your finances first and then you start thinking about a refit. Whereas a lot of people just go into a refit and all of a sudden then they say, okay, I've got a quote now from a shop fitter. I'll now approach the bank. Yes. So, that's been a really interesting introduction to our business, as well as offering all these additional services like, ticketing and merchandising. We've got guys who merchandise your shop. So it's a little bit beyond the standard architectural service that we provide. So that's been really interesting.
That's right. Yeah. So as I guess it indicates, as a complete package. All right.
Yes.
Look, again, thanks for your time today. It's been great to chat. And based on the time, I hope you guys both have a bit of a break over Christmas and look forward to chatting in the new year. Thanks very
Thank
much
you,
for
Scott.
coming today.
Appreciate the opportunity.
It's
Good
been
on you.
fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for listening today. Pharmacy View is a technology-focused podcast provided by Melbourne-based business Arian Technologies and Shopfront Solutions. Over the podcast series, our guests include pharmacists, retail managers, wholesalers, suppliers, and industry technology partners. If you would like further information on our podcast series or to participate in one of our episodes, feel free to send me a message or touch base through the Pharmacy View website, pharmacyview.com.au.